Something changes in people who hold Bitcoin for a long time. And I don't mean their portfolio. I mean them. They start buying less, thinking longer term, building instead of consuming. They quit jobs that don't align with who they are, and they invest in health, relationships, skills, and things that compound over decades. They report feeling calmer about the future, even when the market drops 40%. Now, you could say, well, that is just rich people feeling good about life, except this shift happens to people stacking smaller amounts too. People who aren't rich by any traditional measure. The change isn't proportional to the number of Bitcoin that they own. It's proportional to the depth of their understanding. Something is rewiring, and nobody is talking about what that something actually is. Hey everyone, I'm Bram Kanstein, and this episode of Bitcoin for Millennials is the third and final part of a small solo series. Part 1 was about the trap, how fiat money hijacks your consciousness. And part 2 was about the map, 7 ancient principles that reveal why sound money matters at a level deeper than economics. Today is the path. What actually happens inside you when you step out of the fiat money system and into something different? And I want to start by naming the thing you're stepping out of, because most people don't realize they're running a mental operating system that was installed by the monetary system they were born into. It's invisible to them, like something that is hiding in plain sight. If you are enjoying my content, it would mean a lot to me if you could subscribe to the channel and like my video to support my journey. Thanks a lot. Now let's dive in. The Fiat operating system has 4 core programs, and once I name them, you'll start catching yourself running them every day. Program 1, scarcity panic. Your money is losing value always and every day, so there's this constant low-level anxiety about not having enough. And it's not irrational. The dollar has lost roughly 87% of its purchasing power since 1971. If you're not running to stay in place, you're literally falling behind. The system trains you to feel perpetually behind, because mathematically you are. You know that knot in your stomach when you check your bank account, that is scarcity panic. It's not a personal failure, it's the program running. Program number 2 is high time preference, because saving is punished by inflation. The system trains you to value the present over the future. Spend now, consume now, and leverage now. Why delay gratification when your money buys you less tomorrow? That isn't a character flaw, but a rational response to broken incentives. Every impulse purchase, every subscription you forgot to cancel, every time you thought I'll deal with it later, that's high time preference running in the background. And program 3 is identity through consumption. When the system needs you to spend, it needs you to want. So your identity gets constructed around what you buy. Your car, your clothes, your apartment, your vacations. And consumption becomes self-expression. Shopping becomes therapy, and lifestyle inflation becomes the measure of success. Think about the last time you felt a rush of excitement buying something. Now think about how quickly that rush faded. That cycle, the wanting, the buying, the brief hit, the emptiness, and the wanting again, that is the program, not you. Program 4 is learned helplessness. You can't change the monetary system. You didn't choose it. You can't opt out. The rules change without your consent, so you stop trying to understand it. You focus on running faster within it, and the most important economic forces in your life remain completely beyond your control, and you accept that as normal. That feeling that says this is just how things are, that nothing you do will change the big picture. That's learned helplessness. And it's the most dangerous program of all, because it prevents you from even looking for the exit. These 4 programs don't feel like programs, right? They feel like reality, like the way things just are, like human nature. But they're not human nature, they're fiat nature, installed by a monetary system that needs you to behave in a certain way for it to function. And the moment you start holding Bitcoin, truly holding it, understanding it, the uninstall process begins. But first, something has to crack. Now, what is this crack? For most people, it starts with a question that seems simple, but turns out to be revolutionary. Where does money actually come from? And when you really dig into that, when you understand that money is lent into existence, that banks created from nothing, something shifts. And you can feel it physically, a kind of vertigo. The ground you were standing on turns out to be a fake, fabricated story. Alan Watts described this kind of moment. He said the ego is a social institution with no physical reality, just a symbol of yourself. And money is the same way, a symbol of wealth, not the wealth itself. When you see the symbol as a symbol, you can never unsee it. The ancient Gnostics had a word for this, gnosis, direct knowledge. Not something someone told you to believe, something you saw for yourself. And here's a line from the Gospel of Thomas. The authorities seized the keys to knowledge and hidden them, neither entering themselves nor allowing those who wished to enter to do so. Think about that in the context of monetary education. Financial literacy is absent from most school systems. The mechanics of money creation are understood by a tiny fraction of the population, and the keys to understanding have been functionally hidden. Not by conspiracy necessarily, but by a system that doesn't benefit from you understanding how it works. Bitcoin is the crack that lets light in. Not because Bitcoin is magical, but because understanding why it exists requires understanding why fiat money is broken. And once you see the operating system as an operating system, you cannot go back. Now here's where most Bitcoin content stops. A lot of people are talking about number go up, stacking sats, and buying the dip. But if that's all you got from Bitcoin, you missed the real shift. The real shift is something a Barbadian mystic figured out over 80 years ago. This Barbadian philosopher was named Neville Goddard, and he lectured in America in the mid-20th century. And his core teaching was this: assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Not visualize what you want, not set goals and hustle towards them. Assume the feeling, like live, like right now, in the state of consciousness that corresponds to what you desire. If you occupy that state, the external world rearranges itself to match your state. Now, I know that to some people that might sound woo-woo, but the cool part is that Bitcoin makes this practical and real. Remember program 2, high time preference. The fiat operating system keeps you in a perpetual state of not yet. Someday I'll have enough. Someday I'll be secure. Someday I'll build what I want to build. The system is designed around deferral, around a future that keeps receding because inflation ensures that enough is always a little further away than it was last year. Neville Goddard would say, living in the state of someday is exactly what keeps someday from arriving. You're occupying the consciousness of lack, of not having. And the world reflects that consciousness back to you. Bitcoin lets you do something radical. It lets you assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled right now. Not because you're pretending, not because you're doing affirmations in the mirror, but because the trajectory is actually real. Bitcoin's supply is known and the rules cannot change. Your savings cannot be debased ever. The feeling of sovereignty isn't manufactured through positive thinking. It's the rational assessment of your actual position. And here's where the shift really happens. The wish fulfilled isn't a number. It's not when Bitcoin hits XYZ amount of dollars, then I'll be free. That's still the fiat mindset, still deferring to the future, still living in the not yet. The wish fulfilled is a state of consciousness. I am sovereign right now. I hold my own keys. I understand the system, and my value is preserved. I can think long term. That exact state is available to you right now with any amount of Bitcoin. And when you occupy it, your behavior changes. Your decisions change, your relationships change, not because external circumstances shifted, but because your inner state shifted. And as Neville Goddard taught, and as the Hermetic principle of mentalism confirms, the inner state creates the outer reality. You don't wait for the revolution, you become the revolution. If your Bitcoin doubled tomorrow, would you feel good about how it's secured right now? Most people haven't really pressure tested that, and I get it. Some people are comfortable taking full control of their own keys, but others want security without having to manage it all themselves. That's why I partnered with OnRamp, multi-institution custody where your keys are held across independent institutions in multiple jurisdictions. No single company can access, move, or lose your Bitcoin. Lloyd's of London insured, inheritance planning built in, and a team that walks you through the entire setup. They serve clients globally, whether you're in the US, Europe, or anywhere else. Book a free consultation at onrampbitcoin.com/Bram to learn more. That's onrampbitcoin.com/Bram. Most people stop too early with Bitcoin. They buy it, maybe move it to a wallet and think they are done. But they're not. The real questions are how you're securing it, how private your setup is, and whether you're verifying your own transactions or trusting someone else. And what happens to your Bitcoin when something happens to you? This is the layer that most people ignore, and it's the most important one. That's why I've been working with the Bitcoin Way. They help you set up self-custody properly, including privacy, cybersecurity, inheritance, and even running your own node. And they do it without ever touching your Bitcoin. They're not a custodian. They're your support team. If you're serious about this like I am, go to thebitcoinway.com/Bram, that's BRAM, to book a free call. They'll walk you through your setup, personalize everything to you, and help you get a much stronger position very quickly, whether you're a beginner or more advanced. That's thebitcoinway.com/Bram. When your time preference lowers, a cascade of changes follow. And this is what Bitcoiners report with remarkable consistency across backgrounds, incomes, and countries. You used to eat out 4 nights a week. Now you cook at home and actually enjoy it. You used to have 12 subscriptions, half of them forgotten. Now you've got 3 that you actually use. You used to carry debt like it was normal because everyone does. Now you pay it off aggressively because you understand what debt really costs in terms of future purchasing power. You used to scroll for 2 hours before bed, now you read. You used to measure your year by what you bought, now you measure it by what you built. You used to spend Sunday at the mall, and now you spend it learning a new skill. You start exercising because a longer, healthier life means more years to benefit from your savings. You invest in relationships because community compounds like nothing else. You think in decades, not quarters. Safety Nomus puts it beautifully. He argues that the lowering of time preference is what initiates the process of civilization. When money holds its value, people plant trees they will never sit under. They build cathedrals that take generations, and they invest in education, culture, and infrastructure. Henry Walter Thoreau, an American author and philosopher, figured this out in the 1840s. He went to Walden Pond and discovered he could meet all his expenses by working 6 weeks out of the year. 6 weeks, and the rest was for reading, writing, walking, and thinking. He wrote, "The mass of men lead lives of quiet desperation, and man has no time to be anything but a machine." Bitcoin changes the math that creates the desperation. And when the math changes, the life changes. But the rewiring goes deeper than habits. There's a moment that goes beyond intellectual understanding and becomes something you feel in your body. This is the moment you move Bitcoin to self-custody. 12 words written down, memorized, and secured. The value representing years of your labor held by you alone. No bank can freeze it, no government can confiscate it, no algorithm can flag your account, no terms of service can change. And when that lands, when it really hits you that you can hold your own value, something profound happens. Because for the first time in your life, the most important economic asset you have depends on nobody's permission. The Gnostic tradition described an inner divine spark that no external authority can grant or revoke. Self-custody is the financial discovery of that spark. The moment you realize, I didn't need a bank, I didn't need the state. The sovereignty was always available, I just needed the tool. Goddard's teaching applies here too. He talked about the difference between living from the outside in, letting external authorities define your reality, versus living from the inside out, assuming your own sovereign state and letting the world adjust. Self-custody is living from the inside out. You don't request, you hold. You don't have to ask, you just verify. And that all sounds great, and it is, but I need to be honest. There's a part of this journey that nobody warned you about, and that is the loneliness. Seeing through the system is lonely, at first. The Gospel of Thomas has this incredible line. The teacher looks at humanity and says, I found them all intoxicated. I found none of them thirsty. And if you've been in Bitcoin for a while, you know that feeling. You see the Cantillon effect happening in real time and nobody you know has even heard of this term. You try to explain self-custody to your family and they look at you like you've joined a cult. You watch the money supply expand by trillions and everyone around you just thinks groceries are getting more expensive for no apparent reason. That's the cost of Gnosis. That's the cost of the direct knowledge that isolates you from those who don't share it. The ancient traditions warned about this. The Gnostic path was described as difficult precisely because it means seeing what others cannot. But here's the turn, and this is very important. The loneliness is temporary, and the isolation isn't the destination. Definitely not the destination. It is just a passage. Because the moment you find other people who see what you see, who've been through the same rewiring, who understand without you having to explain, the connection is deep. Deeper than most friendships built on surface-level shared consumption. The Bitcoin community, for all its debates and drama, functions as a network of people who share a form of gnosis. And the bonds formed through shared understanding are real. Neville Goddard would say, when you change your frequency, you attract others on the same frequency. The tribe doesn't require joining. It assembles around the signal that we're putting out. For my European friends that want to buy Bitcoin with ease, check out Relay. I've been a long-time fan and happy to partner up with what I think is the best Bitcoin-only platform for Europeans. They offer a super simple, beginner-friendly app with no distractions and no shitcoins. You can do a quick one-time smash buy or set up automatic purchases when you're stacking regularly. And here's the thing that matters most. Relay is 100% self-custody. Every set you hold is yours. Your keys, your coins. If you want to get started, download the app via my link below or in the description and use code BRAM, that's BRAM, at checkout to get 10% off your fees. Every Bitcoiner hits this moment. You need cash. Maybe a house deposit, an emergency, or a tax bill, and you're staring at your stack thinking, do I really want to sell this? Here's the thing, you don't have to. You can borrow against your Bitcoin instead, so there's also no taxable event and your stack can keep on stacking. This is where Firefish comes in, a peer-to-peer marketplace for Bitcoin-backed loans. And Firefish isn't a lender. They built the protocol that makes this all possible, which is exactly why they never, ever have to touch your Bitcoin. During your loan, your Bitcoin sits in an on-chain multisig secured by open source code. You can easily create a loan request with your desired amount, duration, and interest rate and share it on their marketplace at firefish.io. When you get matched and decide to accept a loan offer, you can use code BRAM to get 30% off your first loan's fees. That's firefish.io and code BRAM. All right, now let me bring this entire mini trilogy together, because for these 3 episodes, the convergence is what matters most. In part 1, I showed you the trap, a monetary system that captures your consciousness, your time, and your life energy through the extraction loop, the bandwidth trap, and the institutionalized forever desire for more. In part 2, I showed you the map, 7 ancient principles revealing that fiat money fights reality while Bitcoin aligns with it. And in this episode, in part 3, it is all about the path, the crack that lets you see the system, the shift from someday to now, the rewiring of your habits and your time preference, the spark of self-custody and the loneliness of gnosis, and now the build. Because the path comes down to a single word, build. Buckminster Fuller said, you never change things by fighting the existing reality. To change something, build a new model that makes the existing model obsolete. Building is the opposite of consuming. Consuming extracts. and building creates. The fiat money system needs consumers, but Bitcoin creates builders. When your time preference lowers, when your savings are secure, when your identity isn't constructed around what you buy, you have the margin, the bandwidth, and the freedom to ask, what can I create? And that question, I think, is the real gift of Bitcoin. Not number go up, not getting rich. The gift is the space to ask the question and actually have the bandwidth to act on the answer. Neville Goddard's teaching one last time. Assume the state of the builder. Don't wait until you have enough money, enough time, enough permission. Just occupy the consciousness of the person who creates, and the creation will follow. Hayek dreamed of this in 1984 when he said, all we can do is by some sly, roundabout way introduce something that they cannot stop. And Satoshi Nakamoto built the sly, roundabout thing. And the question passes to us. Not, will Bitcoin work? It works. The protocol runs, the network grows, and the math and the physics hold. The question is, what will you build on top of it? So what does the rewired mind look like? Not in theory, but in practice. It measures wealth in time, not money. It thinks in decades, and it doesn't need the next thing. It holds its own keys and understands what that means. It builds, creates, and contributes, not to get rich, but because low time preference and secure savings free up the bandwidth for work that matters. And it lives right now, in Goddard's state of the wish fulfilled, not waiting for someday, not deferring to a future that keeps receding. It is occupying freedom, today, with whatever they have. The Gnostics called this Gnosis, the Taoists called this returning to Pu, the uncarved block, and the Hermeticists called it mastery, rising from pawn to player. Goddard called it the wish fulfilled. Different maps, same territory. And that territory is all yours, and it always was. You just needed a tool to see it, and now you do. Bitcoin gives you this tool, the rewiring gives you the mind. And the path you walk after that is totally yours. Thanks for listening to this episode and mini-series in the Bitcoin for Millennials podcast. All 3 episodes are linked in the show notes, and if this trilogy changed how you think about money, share it with someone who needs to hear it too. I will see you with a guest in the next episode. Bye. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, you can click here to find more just like it, and click here to find all Bitcoin for Millennials podcast episodes. Also, if you want to help me shine a light on the message of Bitcoin, please like this video and subscribe to stay connected. I hope to see you for our next episode. Bye.